What's on, guys? Jay Hoyt back with you today. Welcome back to NHL 24. We are here on Online Versus. Something we haven't done in a little bit is actually have something about the NHL, something big in this case that we're going to be talking about here, and it is very big news. So I know before we talked about potential expansion for the NHL, and we mentioned in that video, I mean, spoiler alert, but we mentioned in that video that we thought that 32 teams and the way the NHL is right now is absolutely perfect. And when I mean perfect, I'm talking about perfect, right? 32 teams, 16 make it to the playoffs. We have a wild card system, top 3 from every division. Of course, we have wild card teams in there. I think I already mentioned that. The way the playoffs work, best of 7s. We got rotate home and away. We have, all this great stuff happening in the NHL. And we talked about in there that there was potential franchises coming into the NHL, and we gave our thoughts fully on that, how we don't think that's a good idea and that everything is perfect right now. Well, the other thing we mentioned in that is if there were to be new teams in the NHL, that they should either buy a team that's already established and then just relocate them, because I just feel like expansion, again, is not the way to go. But in this case, we had this absolutely breaking news coming out of ESPN. Of course, we saw it on Twitter as well. But the NHL approves the Arizona Coyotes sale and the relocation to Salt Lake City. So if you don't know where Salt Lake City, that's going to be in Utah. And there is, of course, the Utah Jazz there as well. And they were one of the teams that we talked about potentially getting an expansion franchise. And ever since we got Vegas, ever since we got Seattle, right, it rounded it out. 32 teams was perfect. Nice even conferences, perfect divisions. Like, everything worked out. So in this case, the Utah Jazz ownership, or the family, I guess, that owns the team, along with, I'm guessing, probably other people, but they own the Utah Jazz. And that's going to be Ryan and Ashley Smith of the Smith Entertainment Group. Apparently, we're one of the teams that were interested in an expansion franchise, but the NHL basically went to them and said, hey, we most likely, obviously I don't know if this part's true or not, but they were like, hey, expansion, probably not, but have you heard of the Arizona Coyotes and how terrible of an organization they are, and their future is so unknown that they don't even have an arena or much of a future kind of direction at all? What if you buy them? So apparently they have bought the existing hockey assets, so the team and the existing hockey assets, for $1.2 billion from Alex Marullo. He had also owned the franchise. Oh, so I'm sorry. I misread that. So Marullo had owned the team since buying the franchise for $300 million in 2019. But the league lost patience in the ability to find a long-term arena solution in Arizona and also facilitated a sale. So this is where we get into it with what I was talking about. So the Smiths, so what was his name? Ryan and Ashley Smith of the Smith Entertainment Group. They also own the Utah Jazz, an NBA team, basketball, and initially built a relationship on wanting an expansion franchise. So that's where that comes in. And then over the past several months, the conversation changed, and Bettman approached the Smiths about becoming a solution for the Coyotes instead. So in here, I mean, if you would have told me at the beginning of the year this is where we'd be, I'd say you're crazy. Could you guys pull it off? Could you really pull it off? Do you have the kind of the resources to do so? And then, reading the rest of this, he kind of hypes up Utah, how it's a vibrant and thriving state and upcoming and growing and everything. And other than the Utah Jazz, I'm not really sure what else is really in Utah. Not very familiar with the state. But this is kind of cool, right? It gives Arizona a solution about their future, about an arena, about, a franchise that has been sort of a joke in the last little bit here. Like, ever since they've been trying to figure out an arena and figure out the direction of their team, like, nothing was going right for them, right? So they tried to get an arena. Somehow had to get out of their old arena. Then they tried to find a new arena and build a new arena. That didn't work. So then they tried to do this and that and the other thing, and just nothing seemed to work. You know, in my opinion, this, I think, is a great solution, right? The Smith family already wanted a team, and, you know, instead of, you know, disrupting the NHL and, you know, adding on to 32 teams, they figure out a solution for a team that's already, you know, trying to figure stuff out. And here is the final decision here. So the next thing we have on your screen is a statement from the Arizona Coyotes chairman and governor, Alex Marullo. So, of course, he doesn't really say a lot in here, but there's a lot that is said in here that isn't written. So he says, there has been a lot of discussion in the recent days about the future of the Arizona Coyotes. I understand and empathize with the concerns of our fans, community, partners, players, in our front office, and all of our team members. I hope to address these issues soon as I am able to speak on the topics. We are focused on a bunch of issues that are unresolved, and therefore we are unable to make any public comments at this time. However, you have my commitment that I'm going to speak on all of these issues and publicly address all of your concerns promptly as possible, by Alex Marullo. So like he said, he didn't really say a lot in that kind of statement, but there's a lot to be said about that. Basically, is like, things are happening behind the scenes. I can't really talk about them yet because, like, legally, probably there's a lot of, you know, legal stuff. I don't know how else to really describe that, but all the paperwork, the sale, the money, the, you know, everything, of course. Then you have to get into the new arena. You have to make sure everything is ready for NHL hockey, make sure everything's up to date for hockey purposes, and go from there. And then, of course, now you have to have a brand. Now you have to, you know, figure out ticketing and, you know, all of the stuff that goes into a hockey franchise. Now you have to do, because you're out of the playoffs, so it doesn't really matter what they do now. So they have between now and, when does the preseason start, like September or something? So they have to have everything figured out in, what would that be, 4 months, 5 months? So assuming they already had kind of a brand that they liked and wanted to go with, and a direction and a color scheme and jerseys and, you know, all of this stuff, assuming they already had that picked out for the expansion franchise, they must just be like, all right, well, we're going to do that, but now we're just going to make it, you know, the Salt Lake City whatever, or the Utah whatever, or, you know, whatever the name's going to be. The next part of that is going to be, guess what the name's going to be, because who knows? Because I don't really know a lot about, you know, Salt Lake City or Utah for that matter. But of course, if you look it up, I actually did look it up a little bit for a offline franchise mode that I am doing, and apparently it has to do a lot with, like, Pioneers and, like, the olden days and stuff. So maybe the Pioneers, I don't know if that's really, like, a potential option, but I know I've heard rumors that there has been different names and different brands and whatever trademarked. So a little bit of a spoiler probably, but at the end of the day, this is probably for the best for the Arizona Coyotes. I mean, it sucks that, you know, they went from, you know, the Phoenix Coyotes to now the Arizona Coyotes, and, you know, it sucks for everyone there that, you know, it didn't work out, and it's been tough, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's time to move on, and it sucks. Like, I would hate to be in that situation, but at the end of the day, if that's what's best for business, essentially, then that's the way it's kind of got to be. And so actually, I did not know about this beforehand, but the last time I went to the Arizona Coyotes Twitter account, it was over here, and I was actually down here reading, let me see if I can find it. It's above this. Yeah. So I saw the Arizona Coyotes Forever kind of tweet, and when I saw that, I was like, okay, is something happening? And of course, you know, it's also the end of the season, so they're doing all their end of the season stuff, and, you know, their fan appreciation posts and all this stuff, which is cool, like, whatever, like, do your thing, you know, thank you fans with the mascot, like, you know, whatever, right? That's just a typical, you know, end of the year thing to do. But then I just refreshed my Twitter that I went over here, and it says statement from the National Hockey League, and when we read it, the National Hockey League Board of Governors today approved the establishment of a franchise beginning with the 24-25 season in Utah, which will be owned and controlled by the Smith Entertainment Group, which is led by Ryan and Ashley Smith. In addition, the board approved a plan that renders the Arizona Coyotes franchise inactive with a right to reactivate if owner Alex Murillo has fully constructed a new state-of-the-art facility appropriate for an NHL team within 5 years. Effective at closing, the approved transaction will result in the Coyote franchise transferring the totality of its existing hockey assets, including the full reserve list, roster of players, draft picks, and its hockey operations department, to the Utah franchise. Then there's more that says, as everyone knows, Utah is a vibrant and thriving state. We are thrilled to be part of it. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman said, we are also delighted to welcome Ashley and Ryland Smith to the NHL family and know they'll be great stewards of the game in Utah. We thank them for their for working so collaboratively in the league to resolve a complex issue in this unprecedented and beneficial way. The NHL's belief in Arizona never wavered. I don't know about that one. But we thank Alex Murillo for his commitment to the franchise in Arizona. We fully support his ongoing efforts to secure a new home in the desert for the Coyotes. We also want to acknowledge the local hockey fans of Arizona who have supported their team with dedication for nearly 3 decades while growing the game. So then more of it, we are honored to bring an NHL team to Utah and understand the responsibility we have as stewards of a new NHL franchise, said Ryan and Ashley Smith, owners of the Smith Entertainment Group. This is a transformative day for our state and fans. Our intention has always been to pursue an expansion team. Commissioner Bettman conceived and proposed an ingenious plan that would allow us to acquire an NHL franchise while also helping to address and remedy an immediate need of the NHL. While he approached us and asked for our help resolving the situation, we made the bold decision to introduce a new franchise in Utah, fully understanding that we are stepping up to do so in a time frame way that has never been done before in professional sports under these circumstances. We are committed to building a Stanley Cup contending team and are thrilled to welcome incredible players, coaches, staffs, and their families to Utah. Today is a great day for Utah, for hockey, and building a legacy that will have a lasting impact for generations to come, the Smith concluded. So, I mean, wow, that's a lot of a big statement saying, like, yeah, this is happening, like 100%, but also at the same time, old owners say, I agree with Commissioner Gary Bettman in the National Hockey League that it is unfair to continue, it's simply unfair to continue to have our players, coaches, hockey front office, and the NHL teams they compete against spend several more years playing in an arena that is not suited for NHL hockey, said the Alex Murillo, whatever his title is. But this is not the end for NHL hockey in Arizona. I have negotiated the right to reactivate the team within the next 5 years and have retained the ownership of the Coyotes name, brand, and logo. I remain committed to this community and building a first-class sports arena and entertainment district without seeking financial support from the public. So this is really interesting, right? So he basically is like, yeah, we sold it, but we held on to everything the Arizona Coyotes is, with the exception of everything that the Coyotes is. So all their players, the staff, everything is now transferring to Utah, to Salt Lake City, to whatever their name's going to be. But they have negotiated the right to reactivate the franchise if within 5 years they build a brand new state-of-the-art arena that is suitable for NHL play, or whatever the wording was there. So that's really interesting, right? So hypothetically, right now I don't know, but hypothetically, let's just say Alex Murillo does that, right? He's able to secure land or, you know, do whatever he needs to do to be able to build a brand new arena or, you know, construct a new arena that is suitable for NHL play, and he's able to get an NHL franchise back, right? Then what happens, right? Do they just are they now a 33rd team? Do they try to buy another team and relocate back to Arizona? Is that an expansion team? Because then you have a whole expansion stuff. So I just don't see how that's going to work. But I guess it does give him the option, whether he does or does not. I mean, he said he wants to, keep hockey in the desert. But at the same time, I just don't see how that's going to work, assuming we do stay at the 32 teams. Because other than the Arizona Coyotes at the time, there was no other teams that were really, struggling this badly, right? I mean, obviously teams, they go through rebuilds, they reset, they grow their prospects, they draft, high and whatever. But there's no team that was playing in a college arena and playing in, the situation that the Arizona Coyotes were. So, I'm very happy to see, the Utah, community, I guess, start this new franchise. But at the end of the day, I would just say we're done with Arizona and we'll just move on. So, I mean, lots that happened there. I mean, lots of statements, lots of things happening behind the scenes. Very exciting news. Utah, Salt Lake City, whatever it's going to be called. I mean, welcome to the NHL. I know, nothing's really happened quite yet. Of course, it just happened that all this stuff is going on behind the scenes. So, I'm very excited to see what this, team's going to be and, how everything goes and, to see games played in a state that I'm not really familiar with. So, I mean, super cool. Welcome Ryan and Ashley Smith and, of course, everyone else that's, with that group to the NHL. Obviously, I'm not part of the NHL, but, I'm just a guy. So, congrats, I guess, on the new franchise. As far as Arizona, I'm sorry to hear, all this stuff is going on, but it might just be time to move on. But with all that being said, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I would love to hear all of your guys' thoughts and comments down below in that comment section. And if you haven't yet, or if you're brand new here, make sure to subscribe, help the channel grow. And as always, guys, we'll see you in the next one.